Hi, Sandra here from Create in Spain. Now this video is more of a show and tell than a tutorial because none of the techniques used in this are particularly unusual or particularly difficult. I started off with a piece of watercolour, which is this one, and I used Versamark ink to emboss two different motifs. There's a little dragonfly here and a tiny little flower stamp, and I just put them over the surface at random. I then used a white embossing powder to emboss them, and then I got some watercolours, some liquid watercolours out. I wet the watercolour paper, just sprayed it with water to make it nice and wet, and then I just started adding a few splotches of colour. Now there's a fuchsia pink, there is a dark blue, and then there is a bright blue. And it was literally just put there at random, no particular rhyme or reason to the pattern at all. But I did make sure that I left the occasional little white bit because that highlights things. If you cover all of it with colour, it tends to dull things down. So when that had dried, and I have to confess I did help it along with a heat tool, I then decided on the sentiment, which is just a simple celebrate. So I stamped the sentiment, again in Versamark, onto a vegetable paper, which happens to be coloured stripes. It's one that I had a little piece left off something else in my stash. And in fact, I've got another one that I've stamped here. And I don't have much of it left. So it's really only of great use to do things like that. Now, because you can't easily attach the vegetable paper without it being seen that you've got glue or tape or something underneath, all I did was I wrapped it around the watercolour card and taped it onto the back. So then I thought about what I was going to do with the base of the card. And I had this base here, which was a two-tone going from a dusky pink to a dark lilac. And I had just done it with my airbrush a while back and just kept it in my stash waiting for a time to use it. And I thought it would go quite nicely with these particular colours, but when I put this directly on it, it just kind of faded in, so it needed something behind it to bring it back up again. So I just cut a piece of card that was considerably larger than my watercolour piece, and then instead of centering it, I decided just to offset it so that I have a very small offset on this corner and a very large one on that one. I mounted it on foam, and I mounted the second piece of card on foam as well. And lastly, I got my pen out and I put some, oh actually not quite lastly, thinking about it, I also added some little sparkle drops just flicked on with a damp brush. So I don't know if you can actually see that under the lighting, but it is very sparkly. But I said last of all, I just added some white dots on here, down the side, and a few on the vegetable paper as well. And that's it. So the whole card only took about 10 minutes. And it's one of those things that you can make with scraps that you already have lying around. You don't have to buy special materials for it really, just use what you have. And as long as your colours go together, you'll end up with a very nice card. So there we go, that's my show and tell for today. Thanks for watching. If you like, please subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.